Here.
Member Nickel?
Here.
Member Richardson is absent, Vice Chair Hunter is absent, and Chair Kraus is absent. So in the absence of your chairs to conduct business, we recommend that you elect a chair pro tem for the evening.
I nominate Paul.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then a voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep. Any opposed? All right, congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
You can take the gavel if you like.
So I think I can do that from over here, so we don't have much on the agenda this evening. Consideration of the October 10th meeting minutes. Have people had an opportunity to look at them? Any changes, any marks that need to be made up? Can I get a motion to accept them?
I so move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have minutes. Okay. So then we have non-agenda items and visitors. We have some visitors. Thank you this evening for coming. We allow 15 minutes for people to talk about things that are not on the agenda. And so if there's anybody who wants to come forward, we can do that. And if not, we will mark that off of our agenda and move forward.
Okay.
So then from there, we get to the initial advisory review for the addition and changes to the exterior appearance at 548 East Grant Avenue, which is a landmark property, is subject to advisory review.
Sure. So while you take a look, I'll describe briefly. You might remember that Mr. and Mrs. McGuire appeared before us back in July with some proposed changes to this house. The minutes, the agenda item, the drawings from that time are all attached. Since that time, they sought and I believe have qualified for the state property tax freeze credit administered by the State Historic Preservation Agency, so very exciting. In addition to our review, the state agency does some additional review as a condition of granting that credit, of granting that incentive, and so they've requested some additional changes. Those are noted in the email we included from the state agency in question. And we also have some revised drawings from their architect that just show those few changes requested. So specifically, they are looking to retain a door, retain a historic front door location, and so to replace it with a different door or, to seal it shut. Some options there that retain the existing historic facade that I'm sure Mr. and Mrs. McGuire can speak to. Now, procedurally, if nothing happens, we would say that the period for advisory review expires 35 days from when we receive the plans on Monday the 10th. So you potentially have a second meeting to consider this if you would like one. At this stage of the game, advisory review, as you might know or might recall, is a two-step process. So the first step, the step you're in, is to determine if this proposed work is consistent with the purpose and goals of the historic preservation chapter of the code. If it is, then advisory review ends here. No further action is necessary. They have a building permit out and they can continue to prosecute it or to complete it. If you would like an advisory review, if you determine that is not consistent, is not appropriate with the standards, purpose, goals, then technically speaking, you are requesting a conference this evening, and then that conference can start this evening. We'll put a sign out on the property, and it will continue at this group's regular meeting in January. Again, subject to end at that 35-day line. So if there's any questions procedurally, I'm happy to answer those. If not, we can invite the applicants forward. And
Okay. Would you like to speak?
you can do it at the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Maria.
I'm Jeff.
Hi.
Hi.
Good. I'm so pleased that you are pursuing the tax credit program. part of what we do here is to try and encourage that, and I think it's splendid that you are following through on that track. It's kind of an arduous process. It's sort of like, it's like, how much paperwork can you do? But I
How many
think,
photos can you take?
yeah, but I think it's absolutely great that you're doing this, and I think it's just superb that you're going down that trail.
Oh, we do too.
So,
We wouldn't have known about it without Glenn having told us about it when I called him to ask some questions about the house. So, thank you.
okay, well, good. And we think it's a great idea, especially for your house, which we like very much. Can you tell us just briefly, what is the state of Illinois, what is the State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, is that who you're talking with? What are they saying? What are they requesting?
All right, so at the previous meeting, you approved putting the exterior door, the entrance to the house, on an adjacent wall, which currently has a tall window blank. It was a tall window, it has been filled in with a blank. And you said that that was fine, and we were going to put then a smaller window where the exterior door is currently located. So the state would like for us to retain the look of the original exterior door on the exterior of the house. Does not need and it needs to be a half-glazed door, does not, with a simple panel below, does not need to have hinges or a knob, and it can be sealed shut. And on the inside of the house, we may drywall over it and case it out like a window, frame it. So,
Okay. All right. It seems pretty straightforward. It doesn't seem like much of a change, and I'm a little surprised that the state is getting into that kind of technical level of detail on a design item like that, so.
well, I think that was the only thing they could think of.
Yeah, at the end.
Because they didn't have a problem with any single thing.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the interior of the house there's very little original left. I think maybe just windowsills. And whatever's under the subfloor. But they said would retain the character of the house. So,
Okay.
And we're putting in different windows, they'll just be double hung, but they won't have the grids, and they like that because that was the period. So we feel like we actually are doing some things more in the direction of
Okay.
making look a little bit more historic.
When you say grids, you mean the snap out?
right, they're
They-
just one light each,
Yeah.
double hung.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Currently, they have the windows in the old part of the house where you have the grids inside the panes.
They were replaced with the vinyl windows with the lights inside.
So those are the kind of things they commented on.
Yes.
Okay. They can be real sticklers on windows, so,
Oh, no, they're thrilled, but it was our idea.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is neat. Any other thoughts? Any other comments?
I like how it looks with retaining the door, the look of the door where it was before. Now, as you look at it from the Scranton Street, I mean, you'll just see one door, and then when you look at it from the east view, you'll just see one door. Are you pleased with
Well,
continuing it that way? or-
It's not ideal, but I think that it isn't out of character with the era where there's sometimes one door led to the stairs that went directly upstairs and another door led into the lower living area. So I don't think it's that unusual. Honestly, we were so pleased that if that's all they wanted,
Yeah.
we were happy to live with it, right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, you could put a knob on the false door and really confuse all your guests.
Come to the blue door.
So, okay. So any other comments, any other thoughts? I don't see, no. So what do we need to do at this point? Doesn't sound like we have any objections to this.
So if that's the case, your motion is to determine that the proposed work is consistent with the purpose and goals of the Historic Preservation Chapter and conclude advisory review.
Okay.
You can just say so moved. That'd be all right.
If I just say so moved?
You can just say it. It's
Okay.
magic wand.
So moved, okay, so
You don't
now
have
we
to
have a
repeat me.
motion.
Yeah.
And we need
I'll second.
a second, okay.
And we'll do a roll call real quick. Member Church,
Yes.
Member Liebolt,
Yes.
Member Nickel,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Bergman.
Yes,
The motion carries.
great.
Great.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Good
for
luck.
being good stewards of your house.
Oh, we are,
Beautiful home.
we're so happy we can do this.
Right, great.
Yeah.
We are too.
If you ever want to, Glenn thought you might have questions about the process with the state, and if you ever want to talk.
Yeah.
I would
I'd be
love to
interested in
talk to you
knowing
about
about
that
that.
at some point, so,
Thank you for offering that.
yeah,
It's very nice.
Okay.
okay,
Thank you. Thank you.
good, thanks.
Okay.
So,
Well, very brief rest of the agenda. So we do have your 2019 meeting schedule here at the back. No need to take action on this, no need for a vote or anything, but if there are any dates you see that you would like to change, now's the time to mention something. This notice is required by state law, and so we'll issue it on your behalf here early in January.
do we have to vote this, or do we just look at it and smile?
You can, if there's no objections, we will proceed to issue it.
Okay. How does the rest of the board feel?
I have no objection.
Okay, we retain our evening and we retain our time,
Yep, everything's the same.
and the week of the month, so everybody's okay with that? Okay. Good, then we can move forward on that. Okay.
And then, as a brief staff report, I met with Susan Benjamin and her team today, so they're conducting the historic preservation survey of a good portion of the village, the East Terrace, the West Terrace, the North Terrace, and some outlying areas and parts of the east side of town that were not previously researched or surveyed. So some positive news there. Certainly, it's a bit bigger of an apple than they expected, which I think is a good thing. They're finding a lot of information about the development at that time and a lot of good things. So we're running probably a bit behind schedule, but that's not a bad thing. We've got time, we've got resources to spend on it. Certainly what they're seeing right now, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but at this point, their research is directed towards whether or not the West Terraces would be eligible for consideration as a national district. Just owing to sort of the striking, a lot of uniformity there, a lot of very little changes
Continuity.
to the original architecture, and a lot of pretty interesting historic background on the Chicago Construction Company and some of the work they did out there. So that's a sneak peek. We're not sure that'll pan out yet, but they're pretty excited about the possibility, and they're working to build a corpus around that to see if that concept bears out. So,
How very interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
So you might recall on the east side, that's a bit more difficult with a house missing here or major changes here, not really sort of a string by one developer or at one time, even though there's certainly a lot of history there. Those changes, just owing to the fact that there were 6 or 7 plans, not quite the same challenges on the west side.
Actually, there were 4 plans, and they flipped them over to make 8.
You could very well be right.
Yeah.
They were all built at the same time?
Yeah, 'cause my dad took me out there when they were pouring the concrete and stuff. So I remember being a little sprout and being out there and stuff, so.
Yeah.
Is that part of her charge then, to continue working with the state to find out if it does qualify, or is she?
Yeah, so that would be a separate scope of work from this project, probably. I mean, there'll probably be a statement in there as to whether or not she believes that the basis is there. At that point, you could talk about a local designation or a national designation by working with the state.
So she's just putting up her opinion as to what she
Right.
thinks.
Certainly.
Okay.
But I mean, this is someone who's involved in many districts in the state of Illinois.
If she knows how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good.
So that would conclude my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I don't seem to have a chairman's report.
You're still welcome to make one if you like.
So not having a chairman's report, I suppose we seem to be at the end of the agenda, so I'll take a motion to terminate the meeting, to close the meeting.
I second it.
Okay?
I'll make the motion.
You made the motion, you'll second it? Okay. All right,
Great.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're done.
Holy cow.
Welcome to the end of 2018.
That was our quickest
Okay.
one ever.